Once upon a time there was a magic island full of magic people. Let me tell you a story about their pain and their glory. Oh yeah. Many rivers flow to this naked eye, bringing fear and pain, but also a brand new style. And of all these rivers that shape this land, two mighty ones moved like a sculptor's hand. And today those hands across the land, man, is still landscaping. And there's no doubt we can work it out, there is no escaping. As the river flows, there are those who will change its passage. But every common man got to understand up and send a message. So put up your hand if you understand. Now come, see how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we step in style. One lovely nation under a groove. The Ganges don't need the Nile. Them boys with the hidden agendas and the mind benders, people don't take it from. We are smart men and politicians can come along if they want, cause the people got the power and the glory. See how we float in sky, see how we moving, watch how we grooving. The Ganges has met the Nile. Differences there will always be, so that you'll be you and I'll be me. That's the damn thing, self, that makes it sweet. Brother, bring your drum, let me start to beat. Don't mind them politicky politicians. And when they follow tricky situation, we done jamming and we jamming and we jamming and jam, cause we know the story. Let them fight if they want in this land of the deferred glory. People put up your hand if you understand. Now come, see how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we step in style. One lovely nation under a groove. The Ganges don't need the Nile. Them boys with the hidden agendas and the mind benders, they will always do their due. We are smart men and politicians, them could come along too, cause we moving with the power and the glory. See how we float in style, see how we moving, watch how we grooving. The Ganges has met the Nile. See how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we float in style. One lovely nation under a groove. The Ganges don't need the Nile. Them boys with the hidden agendas and the mind benders, they will always do their due. But now that we holding hand, trotting to the promised land, them could come along too, cause we moving with the power and the glory. See how we float in style.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, it is the penultimate day before, of course, that singular, significant day, Mother's Day. And while, of course, biologically, mommy may not by herself, in other words, she's not a hermaphrodite, and therefore will not be able, of course, to produce both male and female reproductory, what I consider to be not just organism, but the chemicals and the biological requirements that would produce another human being, and therefore, of course, they take two to tango. Let me put it that way. But the fact of the matter is, it is tomorrow Mother's Day, And therefore, tonight we will, of course, be looking at the whole issue of policies and programs relating to mothers. You see, it is important, of course, that we reiterate and regurgitate and remember that those parents that were, let's say, blessed with cerebral palsy children, I say blessed not in any facetious way, but of course as one human being to another. And while, of course, none of us would want to be, to have the trauma or the challenges of a cerebral palsy child, the fact of the matter is that those who would have been so blessed is a reality for them. But when they are in a poor quarter, it means it is a difficult challenge, materially, financially, and time-consumingly. And so those are the issues as far as policies are concerned. And of course, we have another group of individuals, those who are considered to be physically challenged, and these days they call them, of course, differently able, whichever way you wish to call them. The fact of the matter is that they are not what we will consider to be human beings with all of their faculties. And faculties here does not necessarily mean intellect, but it also means physical, and therefore may, of course, affect negatively the quality of life of such individuals, and may have to depend on the state for assistance. Those are the kinds of issues that mothers in particular are, of course, challenged with in Trinidad and Tobago, and maybe we have a duty and responsibility, of course, to treat with them, because you see, the current Prime Minister has already signaled by way of legislative amendment or adjustments to the population that the Children's Life Fund, for example, will be upgraded in such a way so as to expand into, of course, areas that it did not cover before. And I suspect that cerebral palsy children will also be the beneficiary of that expansion. And more significantly, I think, is that because the government itself is a caring one, not like, of course, Rowley, the PNM, who say that, of course, policy does not dictate because they didn't cater for this and therefore they cannot pursue. Yes, we have had, of course, the most injured, the most hard-hearted, the most inhumane utterances of former ministers of the PNM administration. In the case of Hines, he was okay. He accepted that parents, excuse me, that would have had cerebral palsy children were not entitled to the assistance, the financial assistance that was previously being provided by URB. Yes, I said that program is not catered for that, and summarily just cut off these parents from, of course, that augmentation. Not that it will totally satisfy their needs, but at least it would have, of course, augment or it would have subsidized what they would have normally spent on such children. And that to me is inhumane. And that to me is hard-hearted. That to me is draconian. And that to me is, of course, reprehensively wicked. And then, of course, ministers will always do development. Of course, all of them.
But now that we hold in hand, running to the promised land, them could come along too. Cause we moving with the power and the glory. See how we flow in the sky. One lovely nation, heading to salvation. Jesus done me that night. My people
she thought that they were greedy. That is the nature. But let's go to the lines immediately. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Yes,
to all the listeners,
Yes.
good night. Uncle Lennox, the music was covering your voice just now.
Okay.
So you was hearing the background music more than you were talking.
All right, good. Thanks very much.
So I just called to interrupt you. Sorry about that. To let you know.
No problem. I think that that is appropriate. That is appropriate. So of course I will of course for the benefit of those who may been subjected to the overpowering of the music in the background, let me just say that we recognize that tomorrow is Mother's Day, and the role of mothers in this society, as some people would say, that the many children that would have turned adolescents and adults eventually and engaged, let's say, in crime and criminality in communities such as this, gang warfare, and of course the whole concept of borderline issue, and of course the breaking down thereof, or the building thereof, or the so-called numbers game, whether it be gang 5, gang 6, gang 7, gang 8. Of course, all of them would have come from a mother, and therefore in the society we have all of these. Let's go to the lines immediately. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night.
Pleasant good night.
Yeah, good night, doctor.
Good night to you, my friend.
Yeah, good night, Trinidad and Tobago. Good night, worldwide. Doctor, I know tuning in, hearing a loud music and you talking.
All right, good. So I think that has been adjusted now.
Oh, all right, nice.
Yes, I took off the music. Yes.
Well, I'm now tuning in, but that's why I say I love UNC, and I love you and all the ministers, because you all study, you all take into consideration the needies, you know, the jump how you call it, the children with disabilities and thing, right?
Yeah, disabilities. Yeah.
Yes, you know, that is why I admire Miss Sessa and all of you all, you know what I mean? Because that's why you have to think. You have to think about who cannot help themselves. And what we see with the PNM, them in hard time with them thing. All them hard time with is the rich must get richer.
Yeah, boy.
All right, brother.
Yes,
So
yes.
well, I now tune in. So I'll keep it in touch.
Okay, then, my friend. Okay, my friend. Okay, my friend.
All right, my brother.
Yes, indeed. Thanks very much, of course, for that intervention. Yes, indeed. Well, of course, I know that things are very, very clear. I'm seeing it on the screen and the monitor that we have in studio. Yes, indeed. And of course, my apology for the overwhelming nature of the background music, but it was done inadvertently. I didn't check the monitor to see the extent to which the decibel would have been, of course, overwhelming the voice that I would have, of course, projected on the microphone. But that being as it may, once again, of course, let me say categorically and without further ado, that of course all the best to all mothers tomorrow. And I like to also, of course, recognize a nuance or aberration in this Mother's Day thing, as I would do, of course, when Father's Day comes around. And that is there are some fathers that act as mothers, and not in the biological sense, but in the sociological and economic sense. And of course, we have to give credit to them as well, because parenting is about, of course, attempting to bring up a child from birth, of course, and socialize them in such a way so that they can become productive individuals in the society. Granted, of course, we have those, what I consider to be anomalies or aberrations, where, of course, some children may, for one reason or another, be, of course, born with a certain, what I consider to be biological deficiencies. And so we have a society that caters for them as well. However, of course, no society or no system will be able to do what they would like to do in totality in terms of meeting the needs of these individuals. However, it is important for us to understand that if it is that the society recognize that these individuals cannot take care of themselves, and it requires an extraordinary, not just effort, but amount of resources in order to assist them, then the so-called welfare state would have been doing its job. It would have been totally functional. It would have been able, of course, to address these problems as they come upon us, because, as some would say, the religionists, that is, that of course we are not God, and therefore, if we are not God, we cannot take life as such. Some may say that if it is that these people cannot subscribe to what is required in terms of their functionality in the society, then they should be gotten rid of. No, any civilized society will not even contemplate, but will make provisions in order to satisfy the needs of these unfortunate, if I would say, but of course differently abled individuals. So I was making the point and comparing, of course, the last administration, the PNM administration, with the current administration, as early as it is. But of course, they would have had some antecedent. This administration, the UNC administration, the UNC Kamala Prasad-Bisesa-led administration, the UNC Kamala Prasad-led partnership, and of course today we have, of course, a coalition of interests. Doesn't matter, same disposition, same attitude, same, of course, humanness and humaneness, same people-centered initiatives. So I was making the point that, of course, Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, under the Ministry of the People, as we have one now, and social development, they had, of course, provision through the URP grant for cerebral palsy children. And those of you who are not familiar with cerebral palsy, well, those are human beings that really cannot help themselves. They cannot even go to the toilet, and therefore they may be living up to 20 years, 30 years, and so on in Pampers. Yes, that is how terrible it is. And of course, parents who love their children will, of course, have to bear all of the financial and other emotional and, of course, traumatic experiences with these children. And here it is, Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, during the period 2010 to 2015, it did, in fact, through the URP, provide some assistance to those parents. You know, as soon as the PNM came into government, and the rationale for stopping that grant by Heinz, a very injured, ugly, inside, outside, physically, a face only a mother would love. I'm sorry to, of course, be facetious, but when you have people that are so dangerously evil, you need, of course, to tell them as it is. Because remember, I have said, that of course evil cannot prevail indefinitely. Well, my prognosis or my prediction has come to pass, because they have gone. The population have sent them, of course, asunder. But the fact of the matter is that when they came into office in 2015, cerebral palsy parents, cerebral palsy, not the parents of cerebral palsy, but the children of certain parents that have cerebral palsy or had cerebral palsy, that grant was taken away. Just as how the milk grant was taken away. Yes, people, to assist mothers. And so in the clutter of the background noise, that is what I was referring to as we, of course, inevitably approach Mother's Day tomorrow. And so I thought that was critical. And then, of course, we, as I said, Kamala Prasad Bisesa recently talked about the expansion of the Children's Life Fund in two ways. One, of course, to add more persons that would qualify for that particular grant that would otherwise not be available, and therefore the medical attention that is required that may not be available in Trinidad and Tobago, people can go abroad and get it. But another important expansion of it is that she believed that the minister, having all confidence, because she is the prime minister and therefore will influence, of course, the minister, even though there would be a board or a committee to determine whether or not a child is qualified for the children's fund assistance, the minister will still have a vote or vetoing decision to make, even though, of course, the committee that would sit and determine whether or not a particular child is qualified and would have made their decision to say no, the minister still has a vetoing or the authority to review and to say yes and reverse, of course, the decision of that committee. That is how you develop policy. That is how you become or implement a policy with built-in efficaciousness. And when you take away the humane nature of it, we have heard, of course, Rowley, when he was prime minister, telling us that he would have dismissed certain workers, whether in the public sector, of course, and of course in some of the state enterprises. I know that currently, 1975, for example, I think it was later called, or more specifically called, Caroni Citrus, when, of course, that entire program was shut down. And he would simply say that, yes, when you make decisions like these, very simple, that, of course, people will be displaced, meaning that you will put them out of a job, out of a bread, and, of course, don't know where to get the next meal, or they will have to make it much more harder or much more difficult to get their meals on a daily basis, and all of the challenges and all of the requirements of a daily living in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, in a scenario where job opportunities have shrinked, have been emasculated, and therefore that is an evil policy, an evil policy maker, and an evil, therefore, prime minister, the most hated. And of course, the anathema of the people was, of course, expressed on the 28th of April, 2025, when they booted out the PNM. There are those who, of course, are making noise already, saying that the PNM will come back and that it's like Balize. We will discuss that at the appropriate time. But clearly, nobody in the right mind will be thinking about that so soon into, of course, the administration of Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, and of course the coalition of interests. But as I said, these people are only about government, about power, and we have defined what power is. Power is, strictly speaking, the ability to have people do what you want them to do, whether they like it or not. But authority, as is the case in the case of Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, and the coalition of interests, because I was at a meeting today and I saw it displayed, so I know everybody is on board as far as authority is concerned. Well, authority is the ability to use power because it is recognized by all. In other words, the reasonableness will be generally accepted of a particular decision, even if it may be, of course, not in one's interest. But because the authority is accepted and the person who may be negatively affected said that is the right thing to do, then of course you have the exhibition of authority taking place in such circumstance. That being as it may, of course, I have my standing colleague with me, so to speak. Of course, the businessman of the community, and he's here, so I want to, of course, invite him to give his opening salvo, his opening remarks, as he, of course, opened the bowling for, of course, whatever he wishes to speak tonight. But I will hope that he will focus on the whole question of women folk in the society and the challenges posed to such women, particularly single-parent women, in communities such as East Port of Spain, Laventille, Beetham, Sealands, and of course along the East-West corridor, for which this program has been dedicated. A pleasant good night to you, my friend.
A pleasant good night to my leader, Lennox Smith, the party representative in this party, and pleasant good night to my leader, Kamala Prasad, and she candidate representative, all of you all, a pleasant good night. And I hope you could hear me out and understand tonight between the topic that my good comrade just bring up there about mothers who have to, single mothers who have to see about the children by themselves. It's really hard for them, to be truthful. It's really hard for them. Some of them get tapped, some of the child father or the husband get tapped in crime, and some of them lost their life to crime, and some of the mothers, the fathers and them find out enough for them and make up their mind. That is it, we done. Sometimes they leave them with 2, 3 children, and that mother now have to go outside there in the workforce to provide food for her children, and it is be hard. And sometimes now I see in my life, I see mothers going out there and getting robbed and interfered, and the money they have, they go and mind the children, they don't have none because it been taken away from them. And sometimes the mothers and them don't know whether to turn it to sell the body and just to mind the children. So it has been a big long story concerning single mothers. Single mothers is feeling in this country. And when we take away certain rights from them to help them, certain dual what they're supposed to have, it's hard for them to survive with 3 and 4 children, where they get caught up with 2 relationships and parents leave them out. The partner who they say they love leave them out. Some of them die and they had to support, they had to get books. Some of them might born retarded. Some of them might had to get money to go to school. Sometimes it be real hard. And the fellas and them now do not want to see about the children, because the state didn't work hard, they can't get no work, and it's a block life. In majority plenty men, it's a block life. I've been really go on the block, you get high, and you know what I mean, you forget your loved ones who love you, who love you and who you're electing in life. This be really hard onto the single mother, any mother in fact. So when I hear my good colleague here, comrade, speaking about, I meet up some couple of people already through the campaigning, where they say it's really hard to mind a child with any disability, because even the taking away the government, the last government taking away certain rights from them for them to excel with the disability of the children. And they say they had to find $4,000 to see if they could get them into a special class. And when they get money, it don't be enough to excel, to see about the children to go to a different level. The money don't be enough. They get a real small money. Yes, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to to have a child with disability, and then you have to take care of them. Sometimes you have to go and work. You have about 2 other children who will take care about this child. With a special home, so you could drop them and pick them up. Them and all denying you, because everything is about money. But I hear my leader, Kamala Prasad, speak highly about that, and she's not leaving you out. I don't know what system she have in place, but I think when she says something, she's making it happen. When she says something, she was making it happen. So I hear she speak highly about children like those to be taken care of. I don't know what she plans she have. I can't say. I'm not a mind reader. But it's people like that. It are plenty things we could really study about mothers. Mothers have it real hard. Single mothers especially. So how to put it? Before people think about mothers with certain problems in their life, nobody doesn't really think about them in that kind of way. Because I see mothers all the time and oh God, I don't have, oh God, I used to have a pastor to go help me now. My man tells she, boy, say, you're supposed to hide money in their breast. In that kind of way. It has be hard. Like, them do have a mother. Some men do have a mother, they do have a grandmother, do have a parents. I don't know what to say. But it's time for we to, in society, in Trinidad and Tobago, it's time for the protective services and the people in control in our government is to think about certain rules of helping the single mother. Well, we know there's get them along to pass the requirements again, there's get a certain dole for children. Some of them must be, when they go up in the office, they deny them. They deny them, work so hard to get some time, and when they're looking out for the government to help you out, they're taking away a food card. You can't get a certain dole to help them to support your home. Because sometimes you are liable to pay light bill so high, you hear they cut your current. You're living under the building, nothing. You have no current in your house. And you see some of them people out there who in authority, living nice and happy and stealing our money when they know they could put it in use to help a young one. I believe they only want to see body back. A little child go out there and get gunned down, a little child go out there and commit a crime, Maybe when he dead, he birth paper could get is an insurance to the government. They could get more money. So they just want to see little children die. You understand me? You get a death certificate, say, hey, Tom died. You know, I don't know what he kick out of this because I know it's about mother, but mothers, you know, me and my good colleague here, Lennox Smith, we talked something about 2 nights ago.
Yes.
About school and, you know, saving the young ones by certain things, using the army, using the police, and using counselors, and you know, seeing the job program right, running the better way, and thing, you know. I not know scientist, I not know how to put it, boy. I just feel it has some ideas how to implement. Even the music we're hearing and thing, it's time for the government to really do something because it's driving the youths. They hear music and they go so. Only waiting to do wrong. We have to do something about this thing. We have to bring back our country somehow. Some people would like what I say, you know. Some people will say, boy, if I see that man, I kill that man, yes? You see what you talking, eh? If I see that man there, I talk big and bold. I don't know if Miss Kamala will hear me or the minister or the man who controls Mr. Alexander, National Security Minister, or the Minister of Education, the Minister of Works. I don't know if there's me hearing me because I just one man is be thinking about the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago and the benefit of the youth of our nation of Trinidad and Tobago. And it's time for we to shift the gear on the youth. It's time for we to open better employment for the youth and the people in the nation. It's time for we to look at the single mothers who we had to lead them and the son going astray. Now, we have a single mother. We had the school program running. We can help she. Also, we can help the child for him not to go astray. Through the program who me and my colleague Mr. Lennox speak about. We have counselor for she, we have counselor for the children, you know. We have people can make job opportunity for she to mind the children. We have to have certain things in place for single mothers. And I could say more, you know, but I'll just let him flow man go for that.
Well, of course, I've left him, of course, to vent, to express his concern, because I know it's coming from the heart. It's not just from the head. It's not just academic. But let's go to the lines immediately. I was wondering why it is that, of course, the phone was ringing, but I suppose the presentation is so emotive. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox, all the listeners on the
Yes,
World
ma'am.
Wide Web. Share the live and tell one, tell the other one.
Yes.
And let's bring it up to 40,000.
Yes, man.
So, happy Mother's Day to each and every one of the mother, both male and female, who take care of the children. And it's only a mother know how to make stone into bread under the PNM. So, brother, and he said, Brother Lennox, good night. So,
Good night.
yes, the programs and them is 3 different categories. I will say that we need to look at, and Uncle Lennox has started getting a building to operate from. That is the most important thing. So now that it have those who will be like me, who went to school but don't know how to read and write a letter or put on what we want to say in writing. And then it have those who will able to write but will know how to head and put it down in the proper way. And then it have those who went to school and they have it at a higher level of university. So these three different categories. So maybe that when the lower end, like me, they get the URP work to help them, and then you sign them up for different courses so that they will get the required education level so they build themselves through literacy programs while they get a little end to see about the children. So that because when a person can't read and write, they seem to alienate themselves amongst the peers and try to be more hasty because they don't want the weakness to show. They try to be dominant. But when with the proper education and training, what all they can ask for subvention to carry out those programs. So the URP will help them get $1 to put a meal on the table. Then they will be able to go to classes and learn and elevate themselves. Those who can read and write, they can get the same little education and go back to school, get their subjects, and get fitted into the public service. So all that will be helped. And then the university degree, who have this sitting down in the area, you see to get work within the service and other way we can fit them in, because everybody will train different. So I just suggested something to you, Uncle Lennox, and the subvention through your program and your building, right? Maybe that way to go. Because remember, when now we're talking about the cerebral palsy and the physically challenged and the differently able people in society in your area, yes, the PNM for the last 10 years, down to them and all was neglected so hard that they had to go through a means test to get something just to survive, just to eat a meal. But these things need to be changed. And by talking out on the programs and lobbying the government, which is the UNC today now, and letting them know how we would like a structure, because yes, our esteemed political leader is looking at it and she aware of what the neglect was, because in her budget reply for 2024 to 2025, she had say this is an area need attention to better off. And the daycare center and to see about working parents who have children could leave out the children at a care facility. That's why she want the early childhood centers and them to come up. So that, and on work to introduce an area of parent playpens, so the children will be on the work after school, and homework center, so they will be idle, and Uncle Lennox is the champion to that cause. And I can vouch for Uncle Lennox. His program was always getting a homework center up and running and getting the children occupied while the parents pick them up. So Uncle Lennox, we are on the right track, and now we have with getting the, how to say it, we have to get the people to come on board, sign the petitions, and send it to ask for a subvention. So I see the quick fix is that the URP program will still have to come into play in different category to educate and retrain and retool them so they can move on. Because it have other food and beverage processing, like the different wines and beverage to make wines, and then it's the agriculture sector where you can run a greenhouse right downstairs by you, a small one to show them how the hydroponic and the bags and container growing and making it feasible. So Uncle Lennox, I would like to say good night and happy Mother's Day to each and everyone, and to your better half, happy Mother's Day and Holy Fourth. Good night.
Thank you very much. I want, of course, for the first time, and maybe it should be regular, to give that caller a round of applause. A magnificent assessment. Yes. Generally, the problem in the society are multifaceted and multidimensional. And here it is, we have a caller, and of course, don't forget people to call 337-6940. The number is on the screen before you, so you don't have a difficulty. And of course, we want to get up to the 40,000, as the caller rightly said. But this is a very fundamental issue, you see, and you can compartmentalize it as well, because you can say categorically where such an individual will be located in the society, because there are schools that are doing well and there are other schools that are not. And I think that the classic exemplification of where students therefore will not be performing well and up to the expectation, or put another way, are unable to meet the challenges of the curriculum for which they must, of course, inculcate in order for them to move to the next stage. But we also recognize that all human beings are not academically inclined. There will be those who are not. And at the same time, the society knows that everybody cannot be academically inclined. It's just like money. If money was stolen, then everybody would have been rich. But what would happen in such circumstance? It means that nobody would work, because I could buy everything. I could just go on the road and pick up stone and say, listen, I want this and that, and nobody would work. So in that particular case, money, one of the functions of money, or one of the qualities or characteristics of money, is that it must be scarce, reasonably scarce. That is a pellucid fact, cut apart from its other qualities. And so that it will, in order to acquire it, it means therefore people have to work. Of course, we could deal with money in a separate program, because we have to start from its origin, where it came from, of course, with bartering and all of that, and of course to where it becomes, of course, a medium of exchange, and of course some of the complications as far as how we arrive at different exchange value. But that is a different story. But the point I am making is that if it was stolen, none of us would have had any need to work, because we could just go on the road and pick up something and give it for a fan, give it for a person who would be doing masonry, etc. But then the mason will also have money in the form of stone, and he will say, no, I'll give you more stone than your stone, in order, of course, for you to come and fix my fridge, and so on and so forth. But that is hypothetical, and of course showing how ridiculous it would be if money was stolen. But the point I am making is that different individuals have an inclination to different attractions that make up life in Trinidad and Tobago, and of course in life in general, so that everybody are not academically inclined. That's the first issue, and therefore those who are not cannot be, of course, thrown away by the wayside if they didn't do too well in C exam or CXC exam, or of course the advanced level, as the case may be. So we must find an occupation, if you want to call it that, a vocation for everyone to be able, of course, to find their space. Because remember, the society needs what? They need moppers, they need carpenters, it needs mechanics, it needs persons who could fix the televisions, persons who could, of course, repair computers, persons who can construct chairs, and we can go on and on. Build, of course, buildings, etc., whether it be for domestic reasons or for industrial reasons. The fact of the matter is that the society is multifaceted and multidimensional, and it is not linear, meaning that it is not one-sided. It is not in a state where, of course, it has on blinders. It is not that way, and therefore those persons who are not academically inclined, the society must have an attitude that says, and we acknowledge that, and therefore the garbage collector must be respected, the street cleaner must be respected, the carpenter, the mason, the mechanic must be respected. That's the point I am making here, and that the society must have enough capacity to accommodate all of that in order for them, of course, to provide what? Food, shelter, clothing, entertainment. Let me repeat. Every human being requires food, shelter, clothing, and of course, entertainment. And if it is that there is sufficient recognition, capacity, and equilibrium, it means that therefore the society will be functioning in the way that it ought to, and therefore the question of division of labor comes to hand. So the fella who is a doctor has his role, the nurse has her role, his or her role, the engineer has their role, and we can of course live a better quality of life and standard of living. Everybody of course contributing. In fact, there is a sociological term to address that what I consider to be multifaceted nature. It is called the functionalist sociologists. The functionalist sociologists are those social scientists who sees that every single operation or every single person in the society has a function, something like the body. The heart has its function, the liver has its function, the extremities have their function, but none of them on their own could be considered the body. But all of them cumulatively and functioning, then it becomes, of course, a human being. Just as the brain has its function, the eyes has its function, the nose has its function, etc., etc., the lungs, and of course, kidneys, stomach, etc. So that's the point we have to make in order to understand where we are and what we are involved in. And therefore, once we understand that, it means, therefore, no one should, of course, decry the young man because at some point in time, he would have gravitated to what is considered to be by the sociologists again, subterranean culture, meaning that holding up a gun, going into a life of crime, and maybe, of course, attracted by gangs, and of course exhibiting certain elements that the society frowns upon. But the point I am making is that the society must be sufficiently flexible and the capacity must be built in so that every single individual is able to function, including the fellow who may at one time gravitate, of course, to a life of crime and end up in the prison, because you know the prison officers have their role too. The court has their role. The police has their role. The teachers have their role. The spiritualists or the clergy or the ecclesiastic class in the society have their role as well, because all of them are really, in true and in fact, operating within the context of a socialization institution. Let me put it another way. The institutions of socialization must also be, and one must understand, whether it be the family, because the first place that the child, the individual in society, learns the language of the society is from the family, you know. The first place that the child learns to have manners, to say thanks, to say no thanks, is within the family, you know. In the first place that the child understands that he must go to school and he must do well is within the family. So if you have dysfunctional families, you are in some deep trouble. And thus, of course, our focus on single mother or female parents. Understand? So it is not by accident we are talking. And I wish, of course, you can participate in the discussion as well, because I think it mustn't be left up to us. Whilst we can academically and of course, critically examine what is, we are looking for solutions, and we will come to the solutions in a moment, but the institution exists. Now, if the child does not conform or the family is dysfunctional, then we have the schools. The schools is another socialization institution that will tell the child what is right from what is wrong, and of course have them focus on their work, for example, have them say thanks or no thanks, have them say morning, good evening, and so on and so on. Some of the etiquette standards that the society accepts. But should that fail, you also have as a backup the church. The church is there, of course, to provide the moral and ethical, right and wrong standards that are required in order to generate into that individual what is called in education those abstract value. Abstract value, which of course means that the sense of right and wrong. And therefore the church will be, of course, be playing that role in concert with the school, in concert with the family. And should that fail, then of course we have the judiciary to bring them back under of course the accepted standard of behavior and value. You see where I'm coming from? So everything is methodological, and when that fails, then they end up in the prison. That is there as well to rehabilitate. And when that fails, well, of course, everything falls down, because you have what is called today recidivism, where, of course, the person will engage in criminal behavior, come into prison, go back out, come into prison, go back out. And, of course, we know that the society will have not been able, of course, to correct that individual to function in the way that they have. I want to, of course, my friend, having regard to that analysis, sorry to, of course, give a lecture in sociology, but of course,
nothing about that.
yeah, no, I know what I'm talking about, talking to the audience as well. But you see, it's important for people to understand, because I want you to understand that this government understands that. Kamala Prasad Bisesa understands that. And therefore, of course, when we started with the cerebral palsy, when we started, of course, with the meal grant and the taken away thereof by the last administration, it is clear that they have not understood it, and therefore cannot be qualified to manage the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago from the human perspective, and they have performed abysmally poor as far as the economics of the country is concerned, and the bringing into the matrix for the expansion thereof, in order to, of course, increase what? Our quality of life, standard of living, by, of course, augmenting our wealth earning capacity. But I want, my friend, to focus on the whole question of the functionality or the dysfunctionality of the education system, and I want to zero in, of course, at the primary level. You see, we had recently, during COVID, a situation where we had virtual education, and when by 2022 we were told by the Ministry of Education that I think 2,000 of these persons or these students who were in the primary system could not be found. Could not be found. They have just dropped off the register. And I want, of course, to preface what your response will be by giving you some more information. And the piece of information I want to share with you again is that I would have assumed, in my own understanding of that scenario, that most of them youths would have disappeared from the system, coming from Laventille, East Port of Spain, and communities like these. So I want to pause there, and you tell me, such a young person, where you think they will be today, and what is your general, of course, assessment as to how the society will either benefit, or we have to be extremely concerned about that person who may be exposed to all kinds of situations. I don't want to put any words in your mouth.
Two things.
But go ahead, my friend.
Two things I want to say.
Go ahead.
Ms. Kamala Prasad, happy Mother's Day.
Yes, man.
On behalf of me and Mr. Lennox, happy Mother's Day. May you live to see many more.
Tomorrow, of course, we will give our formal offer,
check,
because
right?
that is the date, sir. But,
Right, so
yes.
The next thing I want to ask you, this
Where
thing
do
is
you
talk.
think these young people would be?
We're
2,000 of them.
talking about through the COVID.
Yeah, as a result of COVID, they were in virtual classes, meaning that they had to work through the computers. They couldn't go to school physically.
Yeah.
But when that was over, the system saw missing 2,000 young people. I am saying that these young people would have been found somewhere in Laventil, East Port of Spain, Beetham, etc. Communities like these. That is my surmise. And if what I'm saying is true, then where do you think they will be, and what contribution you think they may or may not be making to the society now? Because we're talking about COVID was when? About 5 years ago? 5 years ago? Thereabout? Yes,
Yeah.
5 years ago, because
Well,
it started in 2020.
Well, some of them mightn't have computers. You understand? Some of them didn't have computers. Some of them were afraid when they go to school. The parents tell them, do not take the injection. Some of them did scared because I personally, my children and them, I did afraid to send them to school.
Yeah. Let me just interject here. I accept that. What I'm looking at is that the Ministry of Education can't find them. Where do you think it is?
Well, where I think is,
Yeah, what do you think happening to them? What do you think, you are a grassroots man, you are
Well,
wrong, you're
well,
from Nelson Street, but
well,
Laventil, man, come on, let's say, where are they?
some of them drop out some school.
Right?
Some of them drop out of school. They realize now at the end of the day, a life in crime better and going to school.
All right, good.
Because
Now
at
we're talking.
the end of the day,
You're now talking like a Laventil.
at the end of the day, if I can go out on the street, right, and make 4,000 a day, I would like to go in front of the classroom to sit down with a pen to learn something. I would feel safe going out on the street and make 10,000 a day in the life of crime. So plenty of them realize that here happened. I wasted my time. Besides sit down on the block and I smoke my weed, I drink my puncheon, boost up myself and go out there. I go and make a little 2,000-3,000 and I come back, I buy a brand name sneakers, I look good, I look sweet. And at the end of the day, they feel it's a better hustle. So school it out of them thing.
Right.
So
So
I
if they are getting illegally, what impact that does have now on the people, maybe who is a businessman who is working hard, and you come home or you walk in the streets with your pay packet? What will happen, or how would the society be affected by that kind of young person, or who the system cannot find now, but engage in that kind of activity? Let's go to the line first before you answer. Gather your thoughts in the meantime. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello?
Welcome. Yes, man.
Yeah, good night, Dr. Again.
Yes, man. We have some serious questions to address here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, Trinidad and Tobago, worldwide. Happy Mother's Day. Concerning the mothers with disability children, they don't get enough money for those children because, one, the children don't get enough money. Two, the mother have to stay home and see about the child, right?
Right.
Good. So that means the mother have to look for money to mind herself, and have to look money to mind the child.
Yes.
Right? So if you're giving the child alone, right, and you're not even giving the child enough, well, how the mother will be able to stay home to see about the child? So they need more money, right? It's a natural fact, because this PNM, like them, don't raise nothing. them men raising minimum wage, them men doing, you understand? It's UNC the sun come and raise all them things, you know. Right? Anyhow. I forget what I was going to say, but let me touch on next point, right?
Yeah, because we were talking about the pressures
People,
on society.
if you really one of the situations to stop crime, right? Is providing employment for young people, for young people, especially males.
Right.
If you want to stop crime, you have to make employment for young men.
All right.
Otherwise, crime ain't going on stop.
Okay.
Right? Because that is what has caused crime. When a man cannot get money to survive, he going and do some kind of crime.
Right.
Whether it's weed, whether it's cocaine, whether it's whatever. Right? Because he have to live.
Yes.
Right? So that is one of the main, because I didn't born old, because I was an old man now. I didn't born old, I was young, and I know that is what is fluid crime.
Yes.
When you cannot get no work, and when they want to treat you like if you're a slave, and they want to underpay you and all them things. You understand? Right? Right, doctor. Well,
Okay, that's it.
thank you for the time.
I hope what you, let me see if I can jilt your memory here. I wanted to find out what impact you think that 2,000 young people would have on the society. Of course, my colleague here talks about, of course, gravitating to a life of crime, engaging, of course, in gang activity, killing themselves, etc. The police looking for them. But of course, the person who is working and walking down the streets with his pay package, or a person who is ambitious to set up a business, what you think they will be thinking?
Doctor,
Go ahead.
excuse.
Go ahead.
I'm not hearing you properly.
Oh, you're not hearing me properly?
No.
Are you hearing me better now? All right, okay, thanks.
But I'll stop here. Stop here.
All right, okay. All right, sorry about that. All right, that caller, I trust is not internal issue. But go ahead, my friend. I'm sure that you would have gathered your thoughts together in terms of the impact such a person will have. I am ambitious. I have a pay packet. I'm in a business. I'm in a business to make money and to mind my family. But those fellas and girls are out there. What as a businessman? You are a businessman. How you would feel with in such a situation?
I'll be frightened.
Frightened.
Well, frightened. Look, right now, I'll be on this program. I leave my family and them. I have 3 girls and my another half. I lead them by the business. The business, I frightened, but still, if I going home in my pay package or going to do business with my money, when I go out, I be frightened. Because I see incident with people already and they didn't stand a chance. Because sometimes it's 2 men and all them kind of thing.
You're coming from the bank. You're coming from the bank with your little granny coming from the bank with a little kakada. And
I see our old lady.
2,000 young people out there who, of course, the school system have failed, let me put it that way. And they are roving, and of course,
I see our old lady at time.
Getting on like predators.
I see our old lady at time. I concern little youth. See the old lady crossing across to go up on the pavement. Granny, come, let me help you. Well, I seen Granny getting help. I seen the youth doing something good. Next thing, Granny bag on. Granny bag on. And he gone away. So, naturally, moving outside there, you'll be scared. You know why you will be scared? Because they don't know who to trust. And sometimes the police and them is not at the right point, at the right time, or sometimes.
No, but of course, none of them are going to do something in the face of the police. They are
No.
going to do it when the police is not around. And the police is
have-
not ubiquitous. It can't be everywhere.
As
at
I
the
see,
same time.
as I see a police vehicle,
Yeah.
you know, then it's a cool. If you see a plainclothes police, you ain't sure if it's a plainclothes police.
Yes.
You know, long time police who are plenty plainclothes, but and when they come up and you don't know what's going on, all they just you run into them.
There's 2,000 of them we're talking about.
Yeah,
who
you're running to them.
most likely would be part and parcel
Yeah,
of that.
you run into them. But sometimes they mark the police. Sometimes you walk into town in East Port of Spain, you can't walk in no chain. You can't walk in no ring.
But anytime it's Russian roulette. Anytime
Yeah,
you could be a victim.
You can't play a playing thing because they have now.
Yeah.
I see people just do the thing and come back online right on the block. And I just ask myself, what's really going on, boy?
Yeah. I carried you there because I want to ask this final question because we have to look at solutions. And I want, even though you may not be an academic, you may not be familiar with the system, but of course you are endowed with, of course, common sense like everybody else, and I'm sure you will have a view because I'm sure this will help the authorities as well, the government, to assist them in, of course, formulating policies to respond. If you were the Ministry of Education and 2,000 persons, you must know from what schools that these students were missing. And I argue, I say without fear of contradiction, I'm almost certain that they would have fallen from the system from places like Lavantil, East Port of Spain, Beetham, Silat, and of course along the East-West corridor. What would you have done? Because you know the possibility, as we have said, that these young people will gravitate to what is called the subterranean culture or the negative, the gangs, the criminal behavior, the robberies, the kidnappings, etc. What would you have done, knowing that as your figures show as Ministry of Education, what would you have done? You tell me, you are ordinary man, you claim you're not academically inclined, but of course you're a businessman, so from that perspective, you have a lot of experience and knowledge. What do you think that the Ministry of Education should have done in having regard to that knowledge that 2,000 young people of the age, we're talking about below 15 years, out of school, primary school we're talking about, so therefore we're talking about 11 years and so on. What would you have done as Ministry of Education?
There are certain things I would have done, and here's one of the things.
One of the things, yes.
You trail them children who register them, the parents. The parents register them. And
Give me a shake on day, man. Give me a shake on day. Give me a shake on day. Yes, man. The first time I shake, here's where I shake in the hand. Because it's common sense. It's common sense. The ministry has all the data. The ministry has all the information as to where that child came from, what school, etc. And therefore you trail them. Very good. Go ahead. Let me hear.
And the next thing now, when the police and them,
You get the police involved? That we say?
yes,
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
when the police and them get involved, I find out where them youths and them is. And the next thing, when the police making the route and they see them little youth men on the street gambling, doing some kind of thing illegal, they grab them and contact the parents. And according to what system the government have in place, It's either you can't take away youth, or we will take care of them for ourselves. We'll break them, we'll school them, and we'll teach them how to live a decent life.
The camera shaking up. I see the
Teach
camera
them-
dancing. Go ahead.
Teach them how to live
But
a
you're
decent
talking
life.
music, I suppose. Go ahead.
Because at the ending up of them is the problem. I see youth walking around in place, all this pass, and watch them and go on. Here you come. Where your ID card? Where your ID card? You have an ID card? Where you going to school? Where you living? Where area you live in? Where school you going? Tell me. Officer, I just come down in town here by a friend, and I just know, you know, it's all kind of excuse. You contact that fellow parents, he must have a number for his mother. You take him and only deal with him the suit, because you can have children walking all over the street. Children running all over the street.
Let's go to this call. I'm yearning to get others involved in this conversation. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox. Good night,
to
everybody.
you.
Good
Yes,
night,
ma'am.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Yes, and everybody who's on the live. Good night, good night. Mr. Lennox, listen now. I will vex you. Let me tell you why I vex.
Go ahead.
I can't wait for to lock up them bunch of criminals that they had as a former government, you know. Them that's the hustlers, you know. Them run down this country. I mean, run it down, right, and bust the country. And had this poor lady now, had to come to try to fix back this country. Imagine that, oh God, people all could be so wicked like that, boy. All they had to be the seed of Satan. No, that I see people talking a certain nonsense there, right? Same snake, different face. You understand? And that would the serving up there. Another thing I see is that's a bacchanal in the PNM going on there. And I say, but what is going on with these people and them, boy? All they came in a parlor, must a shop, all they mash up a country and kill all the dead. All is the best thing for Trinidad and Tobago. And look at the state of the country, and people can't even find their way properly in this country, right? That's one problem. Here's another thing, eh?
Go ahead.
I like that you and the gentleman talking there, because he said something make me remember something. I remember some years ago, I think it was about 5 years ago. I talking to some little youth men. They couldn't be no more than about 7, 8, 9 years around me. And I asked them, I say, you know, well, when all they grew up, what all they would like to be in life and thing. But I know one of them, and that same particular one here, I want to be like my father. I said, so where father does to for living? He said, my father is a bandit. I said, so that is where you want in life, little boy? Yeah, well, yes, how you mean? And he proud of saying it, you know. I said, my God, I said, well, look where we reach. I said, this is where Rowley and them bring this place to. I said, this is where Rowley and them, and you see all these things? You have to blame Rowley and them for like, Rowley and them is a curse. Them is the seed of the Satan, them is the seed of the serpent, the wicked boy. But here now, man, Rowley, all you go roast in hell, boy. All you go roast in hell. I go on, I vex. God bless me,
I hear you, my friend. Of course, you have my colleague here smiling, but of course, smiling in a very disturbing way, because he too is appalled that such a thing could happen. But I'm glad that you made that kind of intervention, because it tells me clearly and will add it to the conversation. But let's go straight to this caller. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello. Hi,
night.
hi. Lennox is sounding very, very, very far.
Oh, my
Lennox,
goodness. Sorry. Go ahead.
good night to you and your colleague here.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Lennox, you see how PNM was all up in UNC business, internal business. And you see how now they're employing?
Yes.
You see what it is happening to them now, Lennox?
Yes.
It's just a matter of time, you see. They lost the election and everybody had one another throat. But Lennox, you remember when Rowley said None of his cabinet ministers involved in scandal, right?
Yes.
None of them, and before no course, none. And now you're hearing Rowley asking, I think writing the TTPS to investigate a former minister
Yes. So
on a rape charge.
Who has a propensity to interfere with ladies based on their position in the government, their governmental office.
You see?
Yes.
When he tried to cover up for Darrell Smith, he tried to cover up him. They pay the young lady the money. They remove it from one ministry and put him in another one.
Yes.
It was a revolving door. And now you're hearing all the bacchanal that going on inside it. Good for them, let them eat one another. That's some minor Mrs. Pasabi says some business. And all who try, let me tell you something now. The more stones they pelt at her, the more nastiness they say about her, is the stronger she's going to get.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And she showed them that she has a country to run, and she's very well going to run it. And Lennox, she started off really good with all the things that she's starting to implement.
Yes.
Now, our next thing,
Go ahead.
I find this Antigua government, sorry, the Antiguan Prime Minister, he's very fast and out of place. What it is he told Sean Silvers, our Foreign Affairs Minister. Right, the gentleman went missing in Antigua. So, where Sean Silvers supposed to be questioning? Not that what happened in Antigua?
Yes, of course.
But you see, when this happened to them, Lennox,
Yeah.
and you know, if you check Sean Silver's statement, nothing in it was offensive for Gaston Brown to get on, so you know.
All right.
He had no right to do that. But you know it is hurting all of them CARICOM people? Because their best friend Rowley lose the election. That's why they getting on so,
Well, they will be the heart out.
Lennox.
Yeah, let them be the heart
Yeah,
out.
let them eat their heart out. Lennox, take care and have a good night. Later.
Yes, same to you, my friend. Same to you, my friend. Yes. So we are back, of course, to square one in the sense that what should the Ministry of Education have done? And I think you were right. Communicate with the police, with the police, other institutions. Of course, internally they have their own mechanism where they communicate with parents, etc. To where there are challenges that they perceive to be at home. We also, of course, we have the welfare division as well that has investigators that could, of course, be deployed. But the first thing is that the Ministry of Education ought to do their internals, know where these children would have come from, and therefore, of course, deploy other institutions that would back on getting an idea as to not where they are alone, but getting them back into the system because they are underage, and the system, the law is that such children of that age must be in school. Why it is that, of course, we have to ask the question, why it is that simple process did not take place. Just to tell us that 2,000 of them have come off the system is impossible. And I want to also commend you for, of course, making the point that police officers in their usual in their routine, not asking pertinent questions or simple questions of young persons who may appear to be underage, and they could easily find out whether they're going to school or not from home or from their parents, because they could find the home. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Dr. Lennox.
Yes, good night.
Good night to you and everyone who has supported put the Honorable China in power. I give you that you guys work very hard.
Thank you.
And so there. But that's part of that was speaking about. I want to go back a little way back. Okay, so let's go back to 1970, May 1st, Black Power,
Uh-huh.
when all Africans tried to fight against the PNM. Remember on that time, PNM did not care about Black Power and what the Africans were suffering, and how much Africans died and were wounded with that time. From then on, let's go now forward. Laventille Mover was never cared for then to now. So how do we expect the youths to grow? And if you look at Laventille, there are a lot of teenagers out there with talent, a lot of talent,
Uh-huh.
never given the chance. So there is no way we could say that, okay, Laventille is because they're all about crime. No, there is not about all crime. They try, they fight, and I will go back to this. It's fighting for a chance, but under the PNM, they never got the chance, you know. So that's why I'm pretty much happy to say now that all the work that you guys have put in, and I would like to commend you first
Thank
for
you.
what you do in this program. Because I have watched everything. I called in a couple times. Now I would say that I am from that, but live in Florida.
Okay.
You know, we spoke a couple times, but I'm very happy to see that you all won the fight, and Auntie Kamala will be prepared, and just hoping to see not that Lateral Mova get the respect that they deserve for all this time coming. You understand? So I hope you guys the best, and everybody guys the best.
Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.
out of the entire country of Trinidad and Tobago, Laventel Mova has been suffering from years over, and I am not from that area. I am from Central,
Okay.
but I know what has been happening.
Yes.
So until that is not fixed, then you cannot say a party has looked out for the people. Any party that looks to develop Laventel Mova, say yes, you are for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, of course. Whilst you were speaking there, my friend, it reminds me, of course, of David Rudders, of course, the Ganges meet the Nile. Because, of course, in the local context, of course, there would have been many persons, of course, more significant than me, and, of course, persons who would have played some crucial role in the public sector, talking about, and in the politics, talking about when, of course, the plains of Caroni meet the hills of Laventille, then, of course, only then can, of course, there be equilibrium and, of course, a free and prosperous Trinidad and Tobago. But in addition to that, of course, just before we go back, of course, to extrapolate the issue that we raised with respect to those 2,000 young persons who would have been, of course, missed by the system, and blaming the system, the Ministry of Education, for that lapse and for that continuity. That would obviously, by natural logical corollary, be plaguing Trinidad and Tobago today as far as crime, criminality, as well as, of course, we have the situation with respect to borderline issue, gang warfare activities. But I want to also say that for many years, the last 9 years, we have also been saying that, of course, evil cannot prevail over good. Remember that, people? I've been saying that for 9 years. I've also been saying that, of course, not only evil cannot prevail over good, but there would be a time when evil will appear to be prevailing. And of course, I always mention Hitler, Mussolini, Saddam Hussein, and Gaddafi of Libya, and these, of course, despots, these dictators, these evil people that history would have recorded over the years. And I always reference them. And then, of course, on the other hand, I would, of course, reference people like Martin Luther King, as well as Malcolm X, and, of course, Gandhi as well. And, of course, the most famous of all in contemporary time, we are talking about Mandela. So it is that dialectic that have been, of course, attended to, one, and have been discussed over the last 9 years. And now what we find is that the elasticity of the evil that is Rowley and the PNM over the last 9 years have come to a crushing end. And of course, therefore given credence to the idea, to the philosophy, to the idiom, to the maxim that evil cannot prevail in perpetuity over good. So good is here today. I thought I should make that intervention at this point in time. Tomorrow, of course, we'll go into a little more details as far as, of course, Mother's Day and etc., etc. But before we go further, and my friend make his further intervention on this topic, I think it's important, of course, to maybe introducing Sandra at this stage. Well, of course, we have to pause for the cause. Let's go to the line, straight to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Yes, man. Oh, boy, you're singing muffled, boy. You're singing muffled. Are you hearing me muffled? You're singing muffled. I don't know what you may have to do in order to get you more audible. But go ahead, make your contribution. Let me hear. Oh boy. All right, go ahead.
Talking about the media.
Right.
The media services
Okay. All right. Well, we didn't hear you too clearly, but thank you for that intervention. Anyway, he was what? He says what?
Should learn a lot from this youth man.
Oh, okay then. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's continue on that in that vein, the original discussion. And but before we do that, let's hear a little bit of singing Sandra.
You're
indeed, of course, my friend, music to both our ears. But of course, we can't play it all the time. I trust that it's very low in the background as we continue, of course, to treat with this matter, because basically women have been exploited, taken advantage of. The promiscuity of men, and of course, and the lack of responsibility having, of course, contributed to the rearing, or I shouldn't say the rearing, but the production biologically of children. And then, of course, they abandon their responsibility. The last what, we have about 9 more minutes. Let's look at the role of men in, of course, either fostering the delinquency directly or indirectly. But let me take off, of course, the music all entirely so we can focus. Yes, indeed. So the role of men, directly or indirectly, in, of course, fostering the delinquency, because let's face it, because I have a solution, you know, that I'm going to, of course, prefer at the end of the session tonight. But I want to hear your views as to the role of delinquent men who, of course, are planting seeds all over the place and not taking up their responsibility. Go ahead, my friend.
I could say family values. And it then goes to the men alone, it goes to the ladies too.
Yeah, but of course we are
You
focusing
understand?
on
Now-
men. And then because tomorrow is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Father's Day will
It
deal
goes,
with that part of
it
it.
goes to
yes.
the both of them. Because
Yes.
you can't meet a young lady, you know, by certain laws and say certain thing, marriage was thing before sex and, you know, certain religion and everything. But sometime now, you meet a lady and you quote to this lady, you tell she how much you love she, you show she that love, and, you know, the lady get caught up, yes, a little kiss and a little touch, she feel for that love, she feel you. You know, she feel everything about you, you in love. But you breed the lady. And by breeding this lady now, you know, you're glad to have a child for the first time. Yes, I have a child. This girl making a child for me. She make a child, and when she make a child now, you know, 2 years down the line, a year down the line, you breed she again. And, you know, between your breed, you know, you lost that feeling for she. You see somebody else, you can interfere with. Why that is had to happen to men? Why that is happening? So you leaving 2 children undone to look at our next lady who you find does up, having shorter skirt, she has sperm, and forget your 2 children. Come on now, man. There's a problem we face in the society right now with men. Well, my partner said, don't say nothing what ladies say.
No, go.
Yes, but
You know,
ladies too.
Yes, but I want to
Ladies
make
too.
sure that you circumscribe it.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to say.
Yeah,
when
ladies
it-
too,
when it-
because-
when it's Father's Day.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
ladies too, because a lady will see a man working hard, trying to maintain. This come, he never born a millionaire. His father never leave him with big money, his mother never leave him with big money, but he working hard to build a family. But you I get along, you feel then you can go and do and find some other sweet man out there and mash up a relationship. Come on, couples. All you had to done is that. You're getting your family sick. You're bringing sickness into your family. You're destroying your family values. You know, what you can tell your children, but me and mommy mash up, and you see me, you want to stay by your mother, yes?
Does that extend to, of course, let's say, religious activities that promotes more than one wife. For example, the Muslims,
well,
Muslims
the Muslim-
are multi woman oriented. What do you say about that? It's
The
called polygamy.
Yeah.
But go ahead, yes.
The Muslims say, to my knowing, the Muslims say, as long as he could afford 2 or 3 wives, he could afford that. Well, he could indulge himself. As long as the other apps on them satisfied with that, it's okay. They don't have no bacchanal on it because that's a part of religion.
Okay, so all parties accept that. It is egalitarian type society that we have one man, one woman, and then of course the man disappears, leaves of course the 3 or 4 children for the wife to handle or to take care of.
Yeah, me vex with them and them religion, but I personally, I believe in one woman.
Okay.
I believe in one woman. I believe cherishing the person I love. I don't play around. I don't fight no party. I go straight. Who know me? I just straight man. And the companion I have, she had to go straight too because I don't play. And I believe in my children, loving my children, loving my companion. I believe in that. I believe in cherishing. When I come, I see my family. I can hug up my wife. I can hug up my children. I feel comfortable with that. You know, I working hard for them.
Let's go to the line. Like we lost that one. We have lost that one. So go ahead, my friend.
I working hard for my family. I want young men. Don't neglect your children and them. I want ladies, all the try and see if all can keep all their partners, live a better life in society so all the children won't follow the wrong way. The skettle way. And the hooligan way.
All right, then let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome. Welcome to the corridor. Hello, welcome to the corridor. Yes.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Welcome.
On that topic,
Yes.
I first and foremost, I mean, we spoke about the Muslim having more than 1 wife, 3, 7 wives, and all that.
Yeah.
But I would say in Trinidad and Tobago, we shouldn't say about the Muslims started that. The one we should blame is the PNM, Dr. Keith Rowley, who was the Prime Minister but yet was on the age features. So let's go with that. And if he was the right one, he should have set the example as the Prime Minister, where we should go and how we should live. And if we have a problem that is doing that, what do we expect for the rest of our citizens in Trinidad and Tobago? Not follow the leader. That's what we're supposed to do, right? So, I mean, if he is Muslim, then we could say, okay, but yet it does not go with underage, unless you're in a Muslim country where you could marry an underage girl, you know, and this is where we got to look at from the very beginning of time and where we're going from. You know, that's my concept of it. So I think they should all be jailed, and again, I will give respect to you, your complete program, all who have supported the coalition and anti-Kamala. Now we can actually get changes where it can be one man to one woman having kids and living like the life that is supposed to be from our ancestors coming up when it was time of slavery and sugarcane industry back then. And again, I would like to say again, unless, I mean, I respect anti-Kamala, I believe in anti-Kamala, and I hope, I know she will make a change, But one change I am looking for, I am from Central Trinidad, but I have loved brothers and sisters in Laventry. And when I see the change of unity, that Laventry, Mofa, could prosper, I believe in the government. I mean, look at Mofa. Mofa, where most of them have to shop to make a living, in the Labas. Is that right? And KNM is going to stand up and say that we living for our brothers and sisters, yet they have to go to the Labas and 19 of them have to rush a garbage truck to see what is up. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It has to change. Now is the time. If not we, who? If not now, when? Victory to you guys and that committed thing. And again, I will say the last thing, if wasn't for Rowling, then the country won't follow on that. Understand? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's face it. If a child is born into, well, when a child is born into a family, they then follow the practices of the family. And of course, whilst I was at training college, I remember very distinctly I had a difficulty with the terminology, because they did ask us to, of course, extrapolate or to explain the child is the father of the man. And you know, and I was at pains to find out, well, what is mean by that? The child is the father of the man. But then, of course, it turned out to be a very simple explanation, and that is, of course, you follow your father. Yeah, the child is the father of the man, meaning that when you become a man, you follow that which, of course, you practice in your earlier years. But before we go, because we just have about we have come to the end. 2 minutes past 10 o'clock. But just in case, let me just say this. That whilst all that was taking place and just to round off the last caller's concern, I have been saying for the past 9 years or 10 years, because of course it was when he was in opposition as well, that Dr. Rowley is a rapist and a pedophile, and of course that has not been challenged by him, even though I told him to challenge it, because of course Miss Allen, the mother of his first child, a boy child, Gat Allen, was impregnated before she was 17 years of age, clearly from the evidence, and she made the child just about 4 months before her 18th birthday, and therefore, of course, that to me and he was a teacher at the time, dispensing moral and ethical standards, right and wrong, and here it is, he was opportunistic in terms of engaging in that kind of sexual relations, and I have been saying that from time to time. So I suppose that is what the caller is referring to, that if you cannot, of course, demonstrate leadership, and you cannot be an exemplar, or you cannot show that you have the moral and ethical standard to be able to stand upright and let others follow you or emulate you, then it means that therefore you have no right in, of course, in the public affairs and in the public face. I suppose is that what he's referring to, and I agree. But give your closing remarks now that we have come to the beyond the end of tonight's program.
I cannot finish the things was put to me to say tonight, because it come to the close of the program. But what I had to say tonight, I speaking to the people in authority, I envy all you, Mrs. Kamala Prasad and your team, because I know it's hard work. I know it's hard work. Ways to restructure a whole country. It's hard work. It's thinking. I is not no professor. I is not no doctor degree, but I hope my points and my whatever come out from this tongue, it come out from God and Jesus. And I believe in the Creator. So what come out from this mind and this tongue is talking to you all. So we could do something before it's too late. And I envy you all right now because I know you had to put things in place because I don't know if you listen to me, because I just one man between my colleague here who have the same thinking as me, how we think and how I feel. Sometimes I connect with him, he is connect with me. Sometimes he speak plenty big words, I just raw. I come out and say it plain. Miss Kamala, take these ideas and put it in place, please.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, my friend. Of course, it's always a pleasure to be in your company as well. Let me say, one of my solution to this entire scenario, which of course will impact on every aspect that we have extrapolated or identified tonight, and of course, leading from that 2,000 young persons that cannot be found, disappeared from the system, and the Ministry of Education has not held itself accountable. They just hope that over time people will just forget, and of course, but the problems emanating from that lives with us through crime, criminality, and the dysfunctional young people, and of course, going into adulthood, making children, and the cycle continues. That is where the problem is, because it means that therefore you have triggered a long-term scenario, and nobody knows where Trinidad and Tobago will end up in such a situation. What I'm proposing, well, of course, we will talk a little more about it tomorrow, and that is parental responsibility legislation. I think we have reached the point where we must put into law to have parents be responsible in law in the way that I would have described, not what the Americans would have, whether in Hawaii or in Los Angeles, where of course the parent, if a child commits a crime that would normally be ascribed to an adult, they give the parent the responsibility, or should I say charge the parent as if it was the parent that did the crime. No, I'm not proposing that at all. That is vicarious, of course, responsibility for the crime. I'm not proposing that. What I'm proposing, however, is that if a child commits a crime, whether they stab someone, they steal, as the case may be, both parents must attend court. Both parents must attend court. That is all. If they don't attend court, well, of course, there will be a sanction. A simple sanction, but they must attend court. In that way, of course, I'm sure that mommy and daddy will be looking to make certain to see if the child goes to school, attend, of course, parent-teachers meetings and so on, monitor the child, see who the child is associated with, and if every parent is subjected to such a situation, it means we will have a much more, what I consider to be amenable, and of course, a scenario where the child will less likely be gravitating to the negative elements in the society, and as a consequence, have a better rounded individual to make his or her contribution to, of course, the society. That is where I would like to see parental responsibility legislation go in this country, so as to make certain that parents take up their responsibility, because it cannot be that, of course, a man contributes, but because the woman makes a child, and because of fraternal, I wouldn't say friendly, not a friend, maternal is the right term, maternal connection, biological and otherwise, it comes from my womb, that they take up all of the responsibility, and the man can, of course, divert and, of course, divest himself of the responsibility. So in that way, both parents will now have to, of course, be responsible whether they break up, whether it was a fly-by-night scenario, whether it be, of course, as a result of promiscuity, whether it be unfaithfulness in a marriage situation or a common law situation, but both parents will now be responsible for that child if he or she commits an offense or an act, I should say, that will consider to be an offense for an individual, that will have to take that individual before the courts, the criminal courts in particular, then those parents must attend court, the children's court, in order, of course, to as part and parcel of their responsibility to that child. So I think we can extrapolate. We give you some time to think about it. In other words, do you think that we have reached a stage where parental responsibility legislation is required in the way that I have described? Because I heard someone on Nelson Street some time ago say that I make the child, but I make him mine. And I have a problem with that, because I believe that you have a duty and responsibility, it being a child, to, of course, nurture until, of course, 18 years, when, of course, they have, of course, what I consider to be adult responsibilities, and therefore you may not be responsible, or you're no longer responsible for that child in law. That being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And of course, don't forget, tomorrow night we will be back. We will be back, yes, tomorrow night, Mother's Day, when, of course, we will be dealing with another Mother's Day oriented, but of course treated with all of the other issues, and looking for policies and programs to assist the present government in, of course, managing the affairs of the country. See you tomorrow night. Of course, we will complete our presentation with, of course, singing Sandra, as she, of course, look at the exploitation of women, or put another way, the propensity of men to, of course, do their thing and leave.